Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and welcome to this week's episode of The Knife Guy. If you're new to my channel or you just came out of some weird corner of the internet and you have no idea where you are or who I am a knife guy, knife user, knife collector, knife enjoyer of many sorts. We are all, assuming if you're watching this video, knife guys and gals in this super weird, crazy, and sometimes messed up EDC and knife related world. We all go down our own unique paths, but oftentimes those paths intersect and we experience a lot of the same stuff. What I like to do on this series is pick up knives that are either mine or some of my generous viewers, just sort of flip them out, mess with them, play with them, turn them over, give you something to watch and listen to, on this hopefully beautiful Sunday morning, afternoon, or evening. Holy crap! Whoa, whoa! Casual intro, like there's a lot going on here. Yeah, there's some really expensive knives out here. Now, a few of them are mine. The Herman Dragonfly, the Rockstead Higo 2, the Shirogorov Quantum, and the Sharp by Design Arch Nemesis. The knives that are not mine are, of course, the Hawk Deadlock, the custom. Yes, this is a custom Demco 8020 compact that's very new and very not available. It's very frustrating because I want that very badly. The Peter Carey custom Cayman up here, and the Sharp by Design Tempest in Black Timascus, or that is, I recently learned, is your, and I think this is, well, this is Lava Lamp Timascus up here, but this guy, the Black Timascus, is, somebody asked me the other day, does that mean that there's layers of zirconium in there? And I confirmed with the owner, which is Scott, that yes, that is the case. It's zirconium layered with Timascus to bring out that, those darker elements. Are we focused? We focused? Here, let's, the texturing, the camera really likes the texturing on that guy. Come on, follow. There you go. So anyways, what's the topic today? Do you need to, and this term, right, the term has been thrown around as grail. I've steered away from grail, but not because I'm like, oh, it's better defined this way. No, I just, like, I have this idea that there's this mythical, like, crown jewel of a collection at any one time, right? It's the thing that you're seeking it, but you might not be actively seeking it. And I think we're all seeking a crown jewel or a grail of some sort, right? It's in, because I remember thinking at one time, one day I will own a custom knife. I don't know when that'll be, and I'm honestly not even saving for it right now because I can't ever hope to afford it. But I do now. I own a ridiculous custom knife. And that's this Dragonfly. I cleaned it off for you guys so that all the colors could come out today. There we go. There's the close-up of this beautiful textured Timascus handle scale. This is your standard, or what a lot of people call white Timascus. I actually prefer see, the other side's got some hand oil on it, so you can see the difference between Timascus when it's been cleaned off, and it probably could be polished a little better. Anyways, the Damacor blade as well, that was a big deal to me. Now, some people look at this and they go, ugh, you know, and I know that, and I don't care. This was something that I, put together with Herman Knives and that they built for me. But I requested these materials intentionally because this was, all the stuff that I had collected up to a certain point looked much more like this, right? But if I thought if I'm gonna, go for something that's that mega tier, it's like if I've made this point before. If I was going to buy Bugatti, Lamborghini, Pagani, whatever, Koenigsegg, some crazy car, it's not going to be silver. It's going to be a crazy color, right? A lot of people would think, well, the type of person you're the type of person that likes flash, right? You want to draw attention to it. Maybe that means that you are attention-seeking or self-centered, or that you like to show off. No, I really just like how it looks. I have a certain idea about the character of things in different tiers. It sounds silly. People say you put so much mental effort into defining things your own way just for yourself, right? What a weird, way to spend your time. Yeah, it is weird, but this is what I do. I think about okay, let me give you a great example. I love playing RPGs. Love it. Love Dark Souls. I love, and a lot of people are going to, there's subcategories of these. So we're going to call them all RPGs for the sake of simplicity. World of Warcraft, Dark Souls, Diablo, Borderlands, Destiny, Monster Hunter, Pokemon. Love all that stuff. Now, each of those games has different tiers of things. I think you could go through kind of like how the Dark Souls universe is set up, where you have your lower tier stuff, right? What is it? It's like your S, A, B, C, and then whatever the crap tier is, right? Different tiers of things. If you've ever played, and this is not the same type of game, but like Need for Speed, those old Need for Speed games where you could build your car, right? And a lot of times, as I would acquire the ability to buy crazier and crazier cars, there are RPG elements of that game, absolutely. In fact, I would argue that Need for Speed, to go on a tangent here for a second, is very much an RPG. If you think about how the progression of that game works, yeah, it's a racing game, but it's like a racing RPG. In fact, maybe it's already classified as that, and people are going to say, you're not a genius for pointing that out. Everybody knows that already. All right, anyways, geez, getting off track here. As you progress, right, you have the ability to acquire more performance-oriented, or just maybe more exotic, right, things. And because of how you feel about that next tier up, it changes the way that you internally think that it should look on the exterior. I remember playing that game with my brother, and there are certain cars that we would both acquire that we agreed would just looked better with a simpler aesthetic. And then we'd get towards the end of the game. I loved Most Wanted. I used to play Most Wanted on Xbox. And you'd get the crazy stuff, right? I remember getting the Ford GT and the Porsche, whatever the crazy Carrera. What was that? The real crazy looking one, right? And I wanted the chrome paint with the, and I wanted the crazy, I would do like a ruby red, or I would do like a crazy, like mirrored green or something, but it wasn't because in that game, right, it's just you playing by yourself. There's no audience. There's the other people in the game, right? But they're NPC characters. There's no audience for this. It was just for me to enjoy the thing, in that case, the car, with the aesthetic that I saw, right? The soul of that thing brought out to its exterior. I had a certain thought about how that should look. Now, I own two custom knives, two very different custom knives. My arch nemesis and my Dragonfly are both customs, and they have very different aesthetics. This is more of my classic aesthetic, and then this is kind of the way that I think, but the funny thing is I would enjoy either of these knives in either aesthetic, right? They're great examples of knives that have, in my mind, the potential for a hybrid aesthetic, right? But I guess the point that I'm making is that everybody has, if you're looking at this right now, maybe you have a desire for absolutely none of these, but the chances are, if you're watching this video right now, one of these knives, might be a good example of something you might be able to consider to be a grail. It might have an aesthetic that you like, or a partial aesthetic that you like, but you have an idea of how something should look. And my idea with this, with what I assumed was going to be my first custom, this guy was a surprise from my wife, and she did such a great job picking up on every last little detail that I enjoy, especially with stuff like this. But my idea for my first custom was to do something radically different, right? And it did bring me joy. And when I finally got it, it did sort of fulfill that long, in this case, it was like an 8-year or 9-year journey from the moment that I realized that custom knives existed to the point where I actually acquired one. This knife did fulfill that, you know, holy crap, it's finally here. But then, you know, so did this one. Do we need that? Do I feel like, you know, would I have been able to, you know, continue to enjoy this hobby without the acquisition? I know you guys want to see all these, so let's just go ahead and get them out. I'm trying to be careful here, so you're going to have to understand I'm going to be holding a hand underneath these, right? We have that, sorry, I was touching the lock bar there. There's the Tempest with the Damasteel blade, the Peter Carey Carver. I'll give you guys a look at that. We haven't seen that one for a while. I'm sorry, Peter Carey Cayman, the Deadlock OTF. And yeah, that thing really does. It really is solid. This isn't a custom. This video is not necessarily about classification of custom knives. These are just knives that, for a lot of people, are grails, right? The Demco. This is the custom ground. I think those are the only ones that exist right now. There are very few custom compact 8020s. And then another production knife. This is the Shirogorov Quantum. So we'll just have those out so you guys can have a look at them. Whoops. Sorry. These have mine out. Yeah, if you're wondering, is that scary? Or does that make you nervous? Yes, very. In fact, it's hard to keep up with dialogue. I really want these things spaced apart because not all of these are mine. They're other people's knives. I don't think that people need a crown jewel or a grail necessarily in their collection. I think that it's something that's fun to think about. It's fun to, you know, think like, if I were going to acquire a grail, this is what it would be. And then the idea of that always technically being a possibility, because things change in life. You never know. You know, you might get to a point where you can buy it, or you just have an opportunity to acquire it, maybe through trade, right, or something like that. Something changes in your life, and you're suddenly able to acquire it, right? So, if I had gone through life in this hobby, people say, "Oh, I can see your reflection in that. We can see the face reveal." Hi, I've done a face reveal before, but could I have gone through this whole knife hobby all the way through life, never having acquired this or this, and be happy? Yeah, absolutely. Here's the other thing. To a lot of people, a grail knife is something like like the Shaman. For a lot of people, their grail knife is the Shaman, right? It doesn't have to be something like this. Whatever it is that you imagine in your head as ultimate, right? I've given that term. I've thrown around terms like Excalibur and Kingblade, and believe me, by the way, if you're wondering, does this guy know how like erratic his dialogue is? Does he know that he jumps from one thing to another? Does he know that he's constantly sounds like he's circling a point and then never really arrives to it? Yes. I'm very aware of that. Some people like it and some people don't. But this is how I am. This is the type of content I like to create. You can have I think the fun of it, right? And this is, fun of the chase, obviously. That is a huge part of it, though. I think it's important to, if you're an enthusiast, right? If you're just somebody who just, you're a pocket knife user and you just have one knife, right? If that's all the enjoyment you're ever going to get out of it and you're getting enjoyment from it, then great. Most of you guys watching right now, you know what it means to have a fantasy knife build in your head. And just sort of, it's kind of like, not exactly the same, because I think the example I was about to use is like winning the lottery. Obviously, I'd rather win a $500 million lottery than acquire a grail, because then you could just buy what you wanted, right? But when the Powerball gets really high up there, what's the highest Powerball? It was something ridiculous. And a lot of people go, no, I'm not going to buy a ticket because the odds of me winning are so low, right? It's almost like you're more likely to be struck by lightning like 10 times in a row than win the lottery. But what if? You've sat at your desk, right? Or you've been up on the roof, right? If you're a roofer or a construction worker or whatever it is that you do, you've been at work and you've slowed down to enjoy the fantasy of that type of acquisition. Is it healthy to obsess over things like that? No. Obviously, we shouldn't obsess over material possessions, over money, things like that. But we're human beings, so we're susceptible to the idea of that, bringing us joy. You sit and you fantasize about stuff like that. So in the sense of, the knife world, if you're interested in this hobby, having a grail or having an ultimate acquisition in mind, just if for nothing else, just the joy of the fantasy, I think is just as valuable, is just as fun, and brings just as much joy as actually acquiring it. I truthfully, now I'm not going to say like, oh, just thinking about it, right? I mean, I believe that, but I understand it's like kind of cringy to hear someone go, just enjoy the thought of it. It's just as good as, obviously acquiring it is a totally different thing, right? And it brings a different type of joy. But I really did enjoy the thought of maybe there's a possibility at some point I could maybe acquire something like this. I enjoyed that in its own way. And I'm really glad that I did, right? I'm really glad that there was this big, long amount of time between, wanting it and then actually getting it. I'm really glad that I have it. It's great, right? As much as people say like, oh, once you're in this part of the ladder, then you just become obsessed with that type of stuff. Now, I show a lot of this type of stuff, but if you've been watching my channel, I'm still showing and reviewing stuff that's in the $20 to $100 range because I like stuff like that, right? There's a specific joy hunting that stuff out. Do I think that people actually need to always get to that point? I don't think so. And I understand that sounds silly coming from somebody who typically does, I'm going to get this and then seek out and get it, right? But I don't think anybody really needs to. I think whatever the journey entail, like whatever the details of the journey are and whatever your acquisitions end up being will likely bring almost in a different way, maybe not the same type of joy, but a different amount of joy that every individual person can appreciate. Because no matter where you are in this, even somebody, let's say I owned 100 customs, right? I would still have another grail in mind. And right now, if you were to ask me, I should do a video on this. If you were to say, well, what do you have in mind now that you have this thing, now that you have what you sought out? And I also have the arch nemesis, which was going to be the next thing. A lot of people, I've told this story before, a lot of people don't know. I had contacted Brian Nadeau. I finally decided, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy a custom, right? I'm going to buy a custom arch nemesis. I know that I want it. It's just going to be stuck in my mind. I'm going to have to start saving. I messaged him just a few days after he had shipped this because my wife and Brian Nadeau put this together without me knowing. And she gave that to me for my anniversary. So that was my next thing. But there are lots of things in my mind where I'm thinking maybe one day. But I like them just sitting in that ether of, that's crazy. That might not ever happen. But that's okay, right? I feel like a lot of this it can easily come off as pretentious, but I want to try and just appreciate these little in-betweens, right? Not all of this is mine. I want a deadlock. Not ready to rush out and buy one right now, but I want one. I want that compact 80/20. But I don't want to rush out and buy it. I want to, I want to level up. Nobody wants to start a game. You want to start a video game, and then, like we've all played Grand Theft Auto, and we've all used the cheats, right? It's fun for a little bit. It's fun for a little bit, but the game itself, I'd rather play through it, right? I couldn't imagine how disappointing Dark Souls would be. Those of you who have played Dark Souls, imagine you start the game, you put in a code, and you have everything. right? You are just an absolute freak beast with multiple different sets of gear, multiple different weapons, copies of the same weapon with different attributes that work for different types of enemies or different bosses, and you basically are optimized to take down anything super quick, and you're good enough at the game, right? Because you can still get destroyed even with maxed out gear. You're good enough at the game that you can kill anything easily. Might be kind of interesting for a little bit, but it would wear off so quickly, right? Same thing with the racing games. You've got the fastest car and you're really good at the game. Well, you've only got so much fun. So having an idea of the thing that would be ultimate in your mind and then actively or passively seeking it has its own joy, and there's a lot of value there, even if you don't ever get there. Because no matter how much I acquire or anybody else in this world, there are still an infinite number of things that we will never, ever experience. Ever. The time that I have on this earth, right? Hopefully it's 100 years. I will only ever experience a teeny tiny little grain of sand of everything there is to experience, right? And the reality of that is in some ways depressing, but in other ways it's like, I'm okay with that. It's fun to have things to fantasize about it, like this fun to have, like the idea of owning a Lamborghini is silly to me. There might be somebody watching this video who owns one, right? If you're the one guy watching who owns a Lamborghini, you probably didn't just step into the world and go, I think I want a Lamborghini now, right? There was a journey, right? Nobody really needs a Lamborghini, but there was a journey involved with it, and I would venture to guess that person who owns a Lamborghini enjoyed and appreciated that journey, and they also enjoyed the thought. I know a guy who ordered a brand new Corvette, the C8, right? Earned enough money to be able to get it, and then ordered it, and then he had to wait. And when the moment that it finally became a reality was one thing, and then waiting for it, like that whole process was. I would imagine they have a certain amount of appreciation and joy that they'll never forget from that, right? But am I going to be disappointed if I go through my entire life and never get a Lamborghini? No. I mean, yes and no, right? It's like, oh, darn. There is no better luck next time. It just is what it is, right? So I still appreciate all of the knives that I've acquired and my entire experience with this knife world, even if I were to go back, right? And my experience was, because well before the channel, I remember only ever having a few knives at a time, but I loved them so much because there was a journey involved with them, and I just appreciated that. I know that this is more, just more the same that I've been talking about on the channel here recently, but a lot of stuff has happened. A lot of crazy stuff has come in. I've acquired a lot of stuff all at once just because of the circumstances, and I'm doing my best to try and keep my foot grounded in reality and appreciate and slow down and, be okay with just thinking like maybe one day I'll this or that or something that's way, crazy, or maybe one day. But I also kind of I did an episode a long time ago about wanting to want it, just wanting to want it and just being okay with that, right? So I accept the reality that I will never have everything that I want. I just won't. And I'm okay with that. And I'm happy with, I'm happy with the things that I do have. And I enjoy just, the idea of the possibility, right? And the next time the Powerball goes up to $1 billion, yeah, I'm going to buy a ticket just to fantasize about it. I've talked about this many times. I will pay. This is my mentality. This is my philosophy on this. When the Powerball goes up to 700 million, 800 million, or $1 billion. I can't remember what it got up to that one time. I bought a ticket for no other reason than just allowing myself to feel joy at the thought of winning. I didn't actually expect to win. But would I pay $2 for the chemical reaction that happens in my mind, the totally illogical, thought of winning? Would I pay just for that experience, just to have some joy in it? Yeah, that's worth $2 for me. I got a week of, elation out of that. It was fun. I hope you guys are taking this the way that it was intended. This was meant to bring you joy and just, basically say, there are a lot of different ways to look at this. The acquisition itself is not the only joy that you can get from this knife hobby. We're fortunate that this knife world allows us through social media to see things, and experience things through a window, and just the idea of, oh gosh, I drive through dealership lots, and I don't know if you guys do this too. I drive through dealership lots and get out and look at stuff. I try not to waste a car salesman's time. I'll tell them right off the bat, they get out, no matter what you look like, what you're driving, they'll get out and say, hey, can I have, because they want to sell you something. And I'll tell them, honestly, I can't afford this. There's no part of me that thinks that I will ever be able to afford this. I'm just living a fantasy and looking at it right now. So you don't need to waste your time with me. I try to do that so that they know not to follow me around and think that they're going to get a car sale, because that would be a waste of their time. I think that's the most polite way to do that. But I still do it. Even if it's a complete waste of time, I still do it because I just love just daydreaming in the moment. Oh, gosh, this is beautiful. It would be so fun, right? So I think it's perfectly normal and healthy in a lot of ways to do that, right? The other side of this is that you do acquire it, it's going to cost a lot of money, right? So you have to pay for it. In some ways, a lot of people find that it's healthier just to fantasize about it and never actually buy it. Okay, very rambly. I hope you guys enjoyed the knives here today. I hope you enjoyed this ramble, right? I'm sure a lot of people, first timers here, will think I'm absolutely full of it and a ridiculous person, and maybe a lot of you, kind of follow along and get what I'm saying here. I hope, anyways. It's always kind of a foggy message at the end. Anyways, this was fun to do. Hope you enjoyed. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.